Okay. Yes. Go back to that and then we'll have that in the recording.
Okay, no problem. So, I worked initially with some probate in 2016, but 2019, end of 2019, going into 20 when COVID hit, I
Hmm.
wanted to focus more working with attorneys and working with them as a resource for when they have probate listings or like if they needed to get time of death property valuations, like being a resource. So I did that. However, what I have found over the years is, you know, relying on attorneys to give that to you consistently is,
Oh, hopeless.
I mean, if they give it to you, it's like gravy. But I
Mhm.
knew I needed to amp it up even more. So what I did so then what I did was focus last year, last September I started, was targeting actually pre-probates because
Mhm.
I'm in Denver County, Denver Metro, which is 11 counties, and the area I wanted to focus on were three counties that were west of Denver. And I've gone to the courthouse twice. I went online. They do not provide the probate list. It is like, so I said, okay, I'm going to go target the pre-probate. I'm going to scrub the list. I'm going to go look at single person that's on title, and I'm going to mail directly to that property. So I do a 9 touch campaign, which is what I sent to you over the course of 10 months. I take a break on month 9, and then that last mailing piece, which is the ninth piece, drops on month 10. And I have gotten business, but it has been slower on it. And over the years, what I did was, and I had actually a client last year. I was helping her. She was referred to me by one of my attorneys, and she was nice enough when I was helping her and her husband sell her brother's home. She gave me the envelope of like what all the realtors and investors were sending to her for her
Mhm.
brother's estate. She goes, maybe you might want to let them know that we're going to be working with you. I'm like, sure, I thank you so much. And so I was able to see what other realtors were sending to them. And what I noticed was there was like 5 realtors that reached out to them. One person sent them 2 pieces twice.
Yeah,
And so I said, you
exactly.
know what? And when I listen to you, it's all about the long haul. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm seeing what's being sent. They're doing like one and done, and one's doing two. So I'm gonna like do a long process. However, and then what I did also was with testimonials from past client successes, I created those case studies because
Mhm.
every estate is different. Some may be like, I just got all the shit out of here and I just want to put it on the market,
Mhm.
which was like my Rob Street property. Another one's like, we want to get everything out of here, but we want to kind of get cleaned up a little bit so we can get more eyeballs on the property. And then I've done one where we did a complete renovation, which was really a great project I enjoyed for the estate. So every situation is different. And then when I got testimonials from my clients, because a client can have a great experience, you can ask for them to write a review. Some will and some won't. So I
Mhm.
take those testimonials vouching for my competency and I attach that. And I'm just like going, okay, I know it's pre-probate, it's not probate. And it can take a long time before they make a decision to get things settled with the estate. I'm like, what the hell am I doing wrong? I want to get a hold of Sharon. I know you work with you're an investor,
I'm an investor, but
but
I
I
have.
know you also talked about if you're a realtor, you're in a whole, you're in a very unique position.
Mhm.
And here's where I am, Sharon, also. I mean, I'm sorry if I'm doing a little bit of data
No,
dump.
no, I'm glad for the detail.
I know all about niche marketing. When I first started as a realtor back in 2003, in 2005 to 14, I was niche specific working with educators when we had the recession doing the Good Neighbor Next Door program. So I targeted educators
Mhm.
and I was the go-to for educators. Educators referred me, and I was like, talk to Zana, she can help you get a home. And I put many people in homes with Good Neighbor Next Door
Mhm.
program. I get it when you're like, you are that one person, you're not like everything to everyone.
Right.
And at this stage in my career, I really want to be focusing on I do not want to give this up. I want to be focusing on this because in Colorado, the last 2 years, the fastest demographics in the Denver metropolitan area, and I know it's going to be probably the United States as well,
Mhm.
is 65 and older.
Mhm.
I'm 55. I see constantly friends and people I know whose parents are passing away. Things are happening. We're going to be start to seeing a lot more of this inventory come and available. And I want to, really carve my niche. Also, in the age of AI,
Mhm.
this is something that is, it's a unique beast. Like, how can
Mhm.
I protect myself in the waters of what's happening in real estate? Because I've seen so much change in our market since
Mhm.
2003, and really in the last since 2019. And I'm not a person who's into social media. That's not who I am. I find it very narcissistic, and I just want to really like be chart my just really kind of create a blue ocean.
Okay. So I can see some where you're having some problems here. So first of all, pre-probates, I actually tell my students not to work them because they if you had taken my course, you would know that you have to open the estate in order to buy the property. You cannot buy it. You could buy it from a maybe if the kids decide to sell it and the elderly dad
Hmm.
agrees, then you can buy it. But they have to they have to pass away and just strictly now we're strictly talking about probates. They have to
Yeah.
pass away and then the estate is open. So what happens is someone passes away,
Hmm.
the estate is open, and then
Hmm.
that next box is the property, all the personal belongings can be sold. So it's
Yep.
relatively easy or early in the process. But the person who is appointed by the court, the executor or the administrator, if there's no will, they're exactly the same in their duties and responsibilities and the legality of it. But they are the decision maker. Only that person can sign the real estate contract.
Yes.
So if you're working pre-probates, hoping something's going to happen, you're doing it the hard way. I have to tell you. And you're having trouble finding the leads. Well, I have a solution for that. I have a lead source for that. Now, in Louisville, Kentucky, even 2 years ago, our leads were not available online. I'm not real techie in this whole open, where they pull the leads through the API. But
Hmm.
I I got them out of the newspaper for all these years, and about 2 years ago, they started to open up all over the country where this company can get leads. The best part is they're cheaper than dirt. I
I
mean, they're
have so real quick, like I said, because I went to the courthouse and
oh, that's hard.
they're
That's
like
the hardest. Yeah,
no, we cannot provide. I'm like,
yeah.
damn, how am I gonna get the one place where I can actually get probate leads
Mhm.
is Broomfield County is they're the only place where I go there and I go, can I get the probate book? They're like, here you go. And I'm like taking the
You're not,
pictures.
it's not scalable though. It is not scalable. What if you could pull a list of 100 leads every month at 30 cents a lead? Look at your time or
Oh,
however many
I
you
know.
have.
I
So
know.
yeah, I'll give you that contact and I'm sure I had somebody else in Denver. So I had students in Denver and Colorado Springs and they were like Louisville. They weren't online. Chicago's been online forever. Dallas, they've been online forever.
Yeah.
But anyway, things have changed. And in fact, I've left the information in my course for people that if you're in a small town, you may still have to go to the courthouse. That's just
Yeah.
the reality of it. But most major cities are available online now. So that's one problem. I would say focus on probates. They are the
Okay.
ones that can be sold. And you have to understand the process. Like I had somebody I was talking to last week and they said, well, the probate's over. Now I can buy the house. I said, no, it's over. You buy the probate, they buy the property or list the property or whatever, get it under contract. What you said to
Hmm.
list it or to sell it very early in the process. So that's number one. That is the biggest thing that I see. And you talked about the people mailing. You may have heard this statistic in some of my recordings because I talk about it all the time.
5 to 7.
Yeah,
And I'm
not
number 10 and 9.
90% of your competition, so don't worry about them.
Yeah.
90% of them quit on or before the third mailing. You're ace in the hole And your big trick is mailing the darn mail, not 5 weeks, not 6 weeks, 4 weeks, every month. And
I do it every single month. I mean, I've got it on my list. It's like brushing my teeth.
yes,
And
you have,
well, I've got the I've been doing it month every
you know,
day, going
well,
to the post office, and I'm like, I gotta call Sharon. This is crazy.
it's crazy and because it's not scalable. And I actually just did a beta test on a new course, which is called it's going to be scaling your probate investing business, but it's scaling anything off market. But you can use this even on the MLS properties. And we went through 6 key pillars: marketing, branding, the type of follow up. Like I know a guy who's was a student. I met him as a student of mine. He's up north. This guy, I'm telling you, if that house is available 3 years from now, he has it in his CRM and he's going to get a reminder to follow up with that person. But Jeremy, he's so unique in that I can tell you do these details. See, I always did these details in the CRM I had. I would put their mom died last month, or their kid broke their leg, or whatever it was. So when I would reach out to them again, then I would say, "Oh, how's your son's leg? Did it heal properly?" And they're going, "Gosh, she really remembers me." But it's all about creating this absolutely ironclad, memorable experience for them. So
Okay.
I'm sure you're good at that.
Well, and the thing is, I'm not looking at it from an investor perspective. I'm looking at it
Right.
as a realtor to work
Mhm.
with them to get their property listed
Listed.
on
Yeah.
the market.
Yes, listed.
That's the objective here.
It's the exact same process, and that's when I wrote my course. I wrote the Probate Investing Simplified. I put letter templates in there for realtors and for investors.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
the process is exactly the same. It's just a question of whether an investor is going to buy the house or a realtor is going to list it.
Exactly.
It's the same thing. All the stuff applies. But your marketing pieces are beautiful, but they're kind of long and it focuses on you. You know, uh,
And
uh,
it's so funny that you say that because my friend looked at it, she's in sales, and she said, um, I see it's focusing on, you want to focus on them, not so much you. So then I went to Chat GPT. I said, make this, don't direct it towards me, but direct it towards them. And so I mean, that was something she brought to my attention. And I tried to that's where I wanted, like, okay, make this more directed towards them, not
mhm.
me. And those are the letters I came up with
Okay,
because
so
it was brought to my attention.
and it looks like they're multi-page marketing pieces from what I could see, correct?
Well, there was the cover letter, then I had the case study for the estate, and then the testimonial of,
Mhm.
um, just the estates working with me.
All of that should be on your website. Let me just tell you something I learned the hard way. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. When they want to know, your forward-facing marketing needs to be, what can you do for them? And then in there, like in my letter, I would say I've been focused on the Louisville market ever since I started investing. Or I think,
Hmm.
that's the thing. They really want to know one thing. How can you help them? How
Got
can
it.
you take this off their plate? Now, all those things are great, but I think it's just too much for them. I think they need a simple letter, and then you say, go to my website where you can find testimonials and case studies and all of that, because they really do only want to know, what can you do for them.
Hmm.
So, do you have a probate arm to your website, of like a
I don't have a
probate page?
website at all.
Oh, okay. So on that page, you would start out and put, here's how I can help you. I understand where you've been. I know how you feel and I know how overwhelming it is and all of that. And then at the very bottom, you would make a video. And how do you pronounce your name again?
Zaina.
Zana. I knew I was getting that wrong. You would just say, "Hi, I'm Zana, and I've been doing real estate in the Denver area for, if you can say, since this time, or my entire real estate
2003.
since 2003." That's what I would say. It's not years, but I would say that. And then you would say exactly how you can help them. I know this is a hard time for you. I'm talking a 1, 2 minute video. no
Hmm.
more than three because they don't, again, it's all about them. But you can then go into say, I can save you from all these headaches, get your property listed, and down at the now you would say, and I've been doing this since 2003, and I've got some a lot of testimonies, but I put a few on my website, and so that they can look at it. You solidify. Okay, so they're in their mind, they're saying, "Oh, I think she can help me. I think she understands what I'm going through."
Hmm.
And you are, if you're probably more expert at probate than anybody in your area. Truthfully, is there anybody that's like,
Well, there's two realtors specific. Well, actually, there's three. So there's one gentleman. He is a phone call guy. That's what he does. He calls, like my client
Mhm.
that I was working with on Rob. She goes, "Oh yeah, I get this call from this one guy. He doesn't leave a message, but I tracked it down. His name is Lee Rowan, and Lee Rowan is in Denver." And so for me, I was like, I don't want to focus on Denver. Everybody's going to be focusing on Denver. It's the biggest population. So I want to kind of go in the outlying areas like Jefferson County, going up into some of the smaller communities where there's not going to be as much focus. So where I was more of the big fish in the small pond. And then there's this one other realtor. She's like all over the place. And then this other realtor who is she does southeast of the Denver metropolitan area. So those are probably the three people that I know. But
Okay.
going into the area where I'm focusing, um, there really isn't anyone that stands out.
But you probably don't have as many potential leads in that area either. See, if it were me, I would go back and do Denver also. Only pick out the areas you want to work in because that's where your
And that's
scalability
what I'm
leads are.
doing.
And
I'm
I'm going to
focusing
tell
on the
you,
areas. Mhm.
you're going to be a standout against number one. You should never call probates as your first thing. I always tell and it's usually men that do that. I told someone the other day, I said, somebody's mama died. Why are you calling them on the phone? They do not want to hear from you that way. They do not want you door knocking. So just
Nope.
let him go implode himself. Just take him out of he's not your competition.
No, it's that's not that goes against everything. I
Hmm.
could not do that.
So I've done direct mail through two businesses since 1991, and I remember the good old days before 2008 when we were getting a 4 or 5% response. That ship has sailed. So this is all about scalability now. But
Yeah.
I would encourage you to look at Denver, and you might not want see when I get a list, I get zip codes. So my county is Jefferson County here in Louisville,
Uh-huh.
but but I'll say I want Jefferson County, Kentucky, only these zip codes. I take out everything that's low end it would be the same for you, except you can keep the high ends because you would be willing to list the high ends.
Mhm.
Investors are not going to go after those properties because
Uh-huh.
they don't work for what they do.
Yep.
They're looking for distressed properties.
Mhm.
But I would encourage you to do that. Still work your outlying areas, but you need to get some scalability into what you're doing. So my goal in this, see, we've only got, I guess with the outlying counties, maybe about a million population, maybe seven something actually in Louisville. And by the time I took out the ones I didn't want, because I don't want to pay for a lead, I know it's in an area where I'm not going to work.
Mhm.
Um, you can do a whole county in some of your smaller ones if that's what you want. You have to make a financial decision about that.
Mhm. Mhm.
But so then you get once you get the leads. Well, let me go back to what I did. So my goal was always to get have 1,000 probates on my list. I could never get that many. I only could never get more than 800 a month over month after month because
Mhm.
you get when I tell people that are not experienced is go back 6 months and get everything that's still outstanding in this an active probate situation.
Yes, because I mean, when I work with attorneys, I've got a gentleman right now. Um, I was referred to him 2 years ago, and he's still getting his mom's shit out of the house.
Yeah.
I
So,
I know how things move. Yeah.
yeah, and sometimes I had a guy that reached out to me and his dad had passed away. And he said, we just had the funeral like 3 days ago. I want to sell this house. He said I've got two properties. So I went and looked at one. I made him an offer because I thought the whole thing was very strange. He said, I can work with that. I just want the money. He was a real son of a bitch. And I said, oh God. But then he says, well, I've got this other house, and he throws out a number. And I said, no, I can't pay that much for that house where it is. And he said, well, I just threw that number out there. I didn't really mean you had to pay me that much. And I'm going, this guy 100% wanted the money and wanted to be done. But most people, that is not the case. It's going to take a while. And that's why I tell people look at it as a courtship. Remember when the old term courting somebody came along, and I think it meant dating with a purpose. So
Mhm.
you start over here and you start dating your person that's got the property, and they get to know you, and everybody else drops out, and then you just keep mailing them, and eventually it worked. You get married, you get to list the house, but it is really it's a long process for some
Yes.
people. But most of the time, I found most of my deals came 7 or 8 months, and some sooner. I've had bought properties that were a year or more after the estate, and the attorney would say, "You have to sell this property. We're going to have to get an extension for the taxes for the property." And I've had people call me at 1 year and go, "I need to sell this property this week," or "I
Now let
need
me
to
ask
list
you a
this,"
question.
whatever.
Um, when you are targeting someone where the estate is out of state, what is your success rate with an out of state PR as opposed to an in-state? I'm just curious.
They're gold. So those are
Yeah.
called, this is called lead stacking. And you can get a list, Jay can pull you a list, and it might only be, so what I do is I get the probate list, then I tell Jay, this is the name of the guy who I go through it. I want you to create a lead stacking list for me, and that is probate plus any other thing, like probate plus out of state owner, probate plus they might be in pre foreclosure, probate plus they have a million code violations. So when they have two or more motivations, those leads are golden. And most people, they don't have the experience to work them, or they just don't work them. So no, those are gold. I'll tell you what else is gold, and I learned this the hard way, and that is returned mail. You
You
don't
talk about that a lot on your thing.
Yeah, you
Hmm.
don't get as much today because with these companies that give you the leads, they will rescrub your list for you. So that's not as big as of a problem. But I have to tell you, in 2008, when I was doing this, I was throwing those away. I just thought, well, it's a bad lead. Skip tracing was like $10 a name at the time, but things are so different now that so I would say just it would be my opinion is I would rethink the Denver area, because let me tell you something. Women are uniquely qualified for this because they kind of go in from strictly a wham bam, thank you, man, here's my offer and on. And we are good at nurturing people. So I personally would not worry about your competition. If you've only got two people, really the guy that's calling them, he's not really your competition. I think you can carve your niche in both. You
Hmm.
can do both.
Okay. Now, oh God, there was a thought that was on the top of my head. I mean, look, I know all about you've seen this. I mean, the long game, I can do it. I mean, I'm as persistent as hell. Um, what was I gonna say? Oh, gosh, I am so sorry. My brain
That's okay.
it was a thought at the top of my mind.
Okay, it'll
Okay.
come back to you. But I do that. I was listening to you talk, but I think you've got a good grasp on a lot of it. But I think some of the things like they've changed, like getting your list online. I would really encourage you to get that list. I mean, you can get 700 names for what, $70 or something, or I don't know. It's real, that's not quite that cheap. But I mean, the point is they're like 30 cents a lead. And you don't want to go on the website. I'll give you this information at the end
Yeah.
because it says, give me the most recent leads. You don't want that. Every month you want to put on your calendar. I had it on my calendar every month, the first of the month. I would get the leads. The first day of the month, I would just shoot them an email and say, I want last month's probates. And so you build your list. Every month your list gets bigger, and
Yeah.
then they come off. as the properties are sold. Now we
hmm
used to do
And
those.
I always scrub it every month. I check. And then every 6 months, I go into county records to see of my list if it sold off market. So, I mean, I do so much scrubbing. It's not even funny.
Well,
That's
just
that's part of my process.
just send your list back through them and let get them to do it for you, and you focus on getting the listing and providing customer service.
I know.
How about if you like to get that off your plate? I mean, it's a whole new world in the last year to two in most places. So I like to teach people about scalability. And
hmm
for some people, they wanted to do 100 houses a month. That was never my dream. I want to have a life along with what I do. So, um, but you have to kind of decide how you want to do this. But I would encourage you to get all of that grunt work off your plate. See, I remember when we had to do mailings in-house because they were $1.50 in 2008 and before per mail piece when stamps were like 40 cents.
hmm
Now stamps are almost double that cost. But guess what? You can get a letter mailed out for like a white professional letter for $1.10, $1.15, something
hmm
like that. Again, that's about scalability. You want to take yourself out of this process. I love the author Mike Michalowicz. I don't know if you've read any of his books. He writes books for small business and entrepreneurs, and he understands real estate. He often slants things toward real estate.
hmm
But somebody sent me one of his first books called The Pumpkin Plan, and I was hooked on him ever since. I actually did a podcast with him. So he's got a book. When I interviewed Mike a couple of years ago, he wrote a book called Get Different: Marketing That Can't Be Ignored. And it
hmm
is an absolutely brilliant book. And that's what we talked about on the podcast. But you've got to find a way to stand out. And the guy
hmm
that's cold calling them, forget him. You need a probate page on your website that says exactly how you can help them. And in your mailings, they need to be slanted toward their pain. Look, I can take this out for your plate. You won't have to be paying, worry about paying taxes on your mom's estate, or utilities, and heat in the winter. I'm sure you have a good grasp of that,
hmm
but you need to, if you're talking to them, you would not just say, "Oh, I've got all this experience. I'm great." And I used to have my videos were all wrong too. So
hmm
I had to redo them, and you have to reslant them immediately. You have to get their attention at how you can make their life easier. So you want the probate page and with the verbiage on it, and then you can I can send you something on that, and then you make it sound like you, and then but 100% make a video on it. Just you can make it sit right in front of Zoom and make it.
Now, here's a quick question. I mean, because I mean, like I said, I've been a realtor since 2003. I don't have a website. I've got my company, like our company has our website for the company, and then you go to the individual agents and you click on me. So I don't even have that. Um, so I mean, I will say, Sharon, I'll be very honest, like, I was normally doing about 35 to 40 sites a year. This year has been the quietest year
It's
in my
been,
real estate
yeah,
career. So
it's been
I'm like
terrible.
trying to be very strategic. I will spend money if when I need to. But I mean, and I know that I'm going through a growing pain. This is
Hmm.
definitely, I'm going through a growing pain right now. There's a reason why I'm here. I'm learning there's, why I'm in this place right now. There's a learning process when you're starting to build something. um it's really trial and error. And this is my new bucket. This is a bucket, not a new bucket, but it's a bucket that I want it to be a major part of my bucket, and I am relentless and not giving it up because I know
Hmm.
this there is such a need in this area. And as a realtor, um I know I can help these people and really get from point A to point B in the timely manner.
Right.
I have that skill to do it. So I'm not giving up on it. So I
Okay.
mean, you talked about website, and I'm like, I don't even have that. And I know these websites cost a shit ton of money, but I've got to
No,
put
not
like a
anymore.
look and a feel. I don't want it to look crappy. So
Well, that's
you see
true,
my
but
marketing.
here's the thing about those. You if you are so I've been doing this since 19 in real estate investing since 1998. And your website is now your online business card. If
Mhm.
you don't have it, they don't take you seriously. Because when I started, we would send out a mail piece, and then based on that mail piece, that seller would decide if they wanted to work with us or not. If they decided, we would get the call. There's a step now that's in the middle. They get your mail piece, they immediately go online and look for you. They look
Mhm.
for your website, they look for all of the things that I've created a lot of content over the years, so I own those first pages of Google for my name. But you can do that pretty quickly by making sure, see, you don't like social media. I get it. I hate it too. You need a
Oh,
social media profile, though. I'm going to tell you.
Oh, I do have a social media profile. I do post listings, but I mean, I just,
Well, yeah, and that's another thing I addressed in this scaling program is content creation. You
ugh.
have to do something, even if it's 1 2 minute 3 minute video a week. I want you to sit down and think about all the things you know about listing houses, selling houses, work, what's important to them, and all the things about real estate. And there could be even things not directly with probate. You could be staging, it could be whatever your expertise is.
Uh-huh.
And the way I got over doing that was somebody that's really made a boatload of money online. His name is Pat Flynn. He's got a podcast and a website called Smart Passive Income. I've watched him. He used to post his income on there. But he made a challenge 1 month to make a video, and if you'd send the video to him, he would put it on his website, who had millions of visitors.
Mhm.
So I sat down, Zana, it took me all dang day to make that video, that 5 minute video. I'm just going to tell you, it was painful. So once I did it and I kind of got in the flow of things, I made 10. When it looked like a dressing room out here. So I've got the blinds closed and I'm changing my shirt, putting on a different earrings so it didn't look like I made them all in one day.
Uh-huh.
I got over it. And I mean, I never have made ever a single video I was happy with ever because I don't like the way I look, the way I show up online. But guess what? That will get you sit down and make some videos, post them on YouTube. Do you have a YouTube channel?
I do.
Okay. So, oh yeah, you said you had listings. You've got listings are a different thing. See, they don't care how many houses you've listed. They care about your expertise and how you can help them. So you need to make some brainstorm a little bit. You can create a content wheel or a list or these are my areas. See, today what I've been focusing on is marketing, branding, and probates. Those are my big things. But what I found was with people that took not only my course but any courses, you give them the information. They get to the end of the course and they're like, okay, I've got all this stuff information now. What the heck do I do with it? But so there's that stopping point. But one of the points, and I told my guy I've worked with him for several years, I said, we're going to have a come to Jesus meeting today. You have to sit down in front of the computer and you have to send me a video within 1 week.
Mhm.
1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. You'll be surprised if you get on there, 1 minute's not long enough. But you could do a realtor tip of the week or, whatever. It doesn't really matter. I would say a lot of them should be slanted toward probate
Mhm.
and generally toward your expertise because they're looking for the best person. They're looking for the expert.
Mhm.
And if your competition is doing any kind of content creation,
They're not.
okay, then guess who's going to be doing it?
Mhm.
I'm going to challenge you to sit down one day. If you're not used to doing video, I'm going to tell you it's painful. It's painful. It's painful for me. But sit down and do 5 or 6. Just get 5 or 6 short topics. And I don't really write them out and script them. But what I do is I have really fancy setup. Behind my computer, I've got a big piece of whiteboard and I have five or six bullet points. That's to keep me on track for saying what I want to say. But you don't need to be videos that aren't perfect actually perform better than videos that are what I call done by a company, professionally
Mhm.
done. So that's one thing that you should do. Post that video every week on Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever. Your goal is that when they type your name into Google, is they see these things. So go back and look at your profiles and make sure that it says your niche is one like you work specialize in probates.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
do all things, but I specialize in probates. Same thing, Facebook, LinkedIn. I don't do TikTok. I don't care about that. Reels, you can put it on Instagram Reels. If you need somebody to help you do that, you can get a VA to do it really for almost no money at all.
Yeah.
But get some content out there, and that will imagine this. They type in his name and the other person's name, and nothing comes up. Same way you found me. That was because of my content.
Mhm.
Wasn't because I'm anything special. I mean, but it's a fact. You've got to do it.
Now, another question too, which I started doing this year, actually
Hmm.
last month, was aside from doing the probate, because I have my old list, well, the pre-probate, I should say, for the exception of Broomfield County is probate.
Hmm.
Um, was you talked about in one of your episodes, because I had these lists that I scrubbed, but then I have the original list. You said, okay, guys, one thing you got to think about is even though you may be, I may be reaching out to people the probate on a home where someone passed away and nobody else is on title, but don't discount the couples and the widowed person because in a year, I reach out to that person because things happen where they may be looking at, is this do I really need all this house? Life changes where they're thinking about selling. So, what I started doing last month was going back through that list, finding who the people were that are the widowed, the survivor. If they still live there, I'm reaching out to them via a letter. So
Yeah, surviving
I
spouses.
started doing, I'm like, I bought this list. I'm going to make it work for me.
Hmm.
So I've started that. So I don't know how that's going to play out, but basically what I've started doing with them is I'm sending them a letter, um, not, acknowledging that they're a widow, but basically, here's I take it's basically a Zillow letter. It's got a printout of what their home shows on Zillow. I will find out if there's value of 5 to 10% more than Zillow.
Hmm.
And basically, I write in a little post-it note, would you consider selling for more than this?
Uh-huh.
And I send like a cover letter and then just the recent sales that our company has had in that neighborhood to show our competency of
Hmm.
selling in that neighborhood.
Hmm.
And I'm sending that out. So I'm doing that as well.
You can do that. You can try that. And you might want to split test those. What you can also do is postcards are cheaper to mail. You can, if you can, I tell my students to wait. What I found from personal experience is that surviving spouses, particularly women, will get to the stage where they want to sell the property. It's too much for me. I want to move closer to my daughter, yada,
Mhm.
yada, yada, at about the 1 year mark.
And it's 1 year. I'm looking at my September of 2025 list. I'm now in October. I mean, September 2024. I'm now on October 2024.
Mhm. You can
Hmm.
start and send a letter or a postcard or two about even 8 months or so. But I wouldn't even mention the probate. I
I
would
don't.
do, I'm looking for properties to list in your area. Would you be interested? Or, there are postcards already that copywriters these companies like I use open letter marketing, and I'll send you all these
Okay.
resources. The I like them because the owner of the company has been in real estate for 10 or 15 years. He knows real estate. And
Hmm.
but they have people that write their copy that converts. So
Okay,
It's
wait a minute. People that write their copy that converts,
they have
explain
copywriters that they didn't sit down and some secretary wrote out that
that.
verbiage on
Okay.
that postcard. They were done by somebody that knows how to write copy that's going to get people to take action. But we're back
Okay.
again to the multi-touch things. But most people, by the time it's been 8 months or a year, whether they're male or female, but especially females,
That's good to know.
they'll go, God, I've got this big house, and I'd really like to live closer to my kids, or they've got that's the reasoning behind that. But I tell people don't send surviving spouses the letter in the beginning because if you get
No.
little old ladies, they're gonna. I had one call me up and say, please don't come for my house. This is how they thought I could somehow get their house. And this was years ago when I didn't know that, not to do that.
Yeah.
But they're a whole separate niche list for you. And that's where a CRM is invaluable.
Hmm.
You need a way to keep these. You need you don't have to do this today, but the same person that opened the company Open Letter Marketing, he had an older clunky CRM. He actually I guess you bought it or subscribed to it or something. He has a CRM now that is unbelievably good. So if you ever get to that point, I think it's about $50 a month or something like that. But I
That's not
told one of my investors friends the other day, I said, I want you to think about one thing when you don't want to spend $50 a month to keep your leads. You've got post-it notes all over your office. How many missed opportunities do you have to miss before it's way more than
Yeah.
$50 a month? I think it's $599 a
Hmm.
year.
Hmm.
And he
Hmm.
just kind of looked at me like, oh my gosh. I said, if as an investor, if you lose one deal a year, if you were going to wholesale it and make $10,000, well, let's do the math on this. $10,000, or I'm going to spend $600 a year on a CRM. It's a no-brainer. So everybody has to baby step their way into this.
I know.
And
And I need to know,
you
like,
you do, but no, you're not in a wrong space, but you do need to baby step yourself into scaling.
I know. And the thing is like, I mean, I need to definitely because I'm a sole practitioner. I mean, Sharon, here's the situation. It's like I need to know, okay, this is what you need to focus on first because you looked at my letters, you saw my marketing pieces. You're like, don't do pre-probate. There's a resource to get a much more better suited list for you.
Yeah,
And just breaking down the steps. I mean, Sharon, honestly, like if I have this conversation with you 6 months from now and I'm like, I'm getting 2 to 3 listings a month, 2 to 3 listings a month,
yeah,
I'm shitting pink kittens. I'm
yeah,
like
really
beyond happy.
happy. Yeah,
I don't need to be like, I've got 50 listings. No, I mean, I want to be able to have quality of life. Um, and just and help these clients. I don't want to be like working like a crazy woman like I was, when I was doing 40 sides a year.
I know, I
I don't
know
want to
it.
be doing that.
Yeah, and that's a big part of this. And when you're setting up your marketing and getting your marketing plan and all of these things, you have to know clearly that was never my goal either. If I could do 1 or 2 deals a month and still have a life, that was all I wanted.
Yeah.
And I know that's not everybody's dream. Some people, I know a guy who I had built a huge wholesaling business of distressed properties, and he was doing 100 a month. He had $1 million payroll, and this is a man with 3 small children.
Mhm.
It took him a couple of years, but he sold that arm of his business. He shut it down, totally shut it down because it's not. I even said to him, because he was just like you and me, I said, $1 million a year payroll, and you are a tiny business, and you've got
Yeah.
all these people and a
Yeah.
CFO. And I said, you can say what you want, Bill, but that cannot be fun. It just can't. And I know somebody else who had a much smaller business. He had an investment business. When met him, he had a business partner. They were both investors. The one was an engineer, and he quit being an
Mhm.
engineer. He did so well.
Mhm.
But they had one person, Lori was in the office, and then they had one other person that kind of helped them with the video aspect of it because they didn't know how to do that. Now this man is walking around town every day with his phone out talking about something. He has built this ginormous list of people that know about him. when that leads to future business.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they know he's an expert. And you can do this, you can do the same thing. And I still have trouble with the whole cell phone, video thing. But
Mm-hmm.
let's say you went into a vacant property. You could say, put it on your face. Hey, it's Zana. I'm going to do a walkthrough on a property today. Give me a second. I'm going to flip the camera around. You never want to show the address or any identifying things about it, but you could
Mm-hmm.
walk through the house. Let's just assume for a minute it was a distressed property, or it could be a beautiful property, but you could just do a little walk through the house and say, and even do it in steps and chop that video up. Then you could say, oh, look at this beautiful kitchen, whatever. It doesn't matter what you say. It
Mm-hmm.
matters that you're the expert.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a million opportunities for to do that. The one thing I always tell people is be sure there are no identifying markers, that you don't pick up a flyer or something with the address on it.
Yeah.
But there are so many opportunities when if you sit down and you stop about and think about this, what could I do or say that would make somebody interested in me and show me as the expert. And then there's this tool. See, I used to spend hours putting these videos in Movie Maker and
Mm-hmm.
chopping them up. There is a service called Opus Clip that's around $10 a month.
Mm-hmm.
You just drop your video in there and it just chops it up for you, overlays subtitles. It's amazing. It's freaking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So, but and that's not a today thing, but that's know that there are all kinds of tools for all the things you and I don't know how to do or don't want to do. I mean, I could do it. I've still got Movie Maker on my computer and I still chop off the beginning and the ends of videos if I don't do anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But your goal should be to live your life. Maybe you'll want to get a VA at some point. I have an awesome VA. She's not the cheap VA, but it got to be where the podcast and everything was overwhelming. And I looked
Yeah.
up 2 years ago and I said, I'm insane. I've had this medical thing going on for now, it's the second year, was just an iron thing, but I had a shoulder replacement. And I am literally, I banked some shows, but I couldn't get back to it as quickly as possible. But I'm literally got my computer up on a stand and my arm is in a sling, mind you. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to figure out how to work Zoom and how do I do this with one arm? And then I had to edit the crap out of the video. And I just looked up at the end of the year. That's when I really put the podcast on a pause. I said, I'm just gone completely insane. When it gets to where you can't take care of yourself
Mm-hmm.
because you
Mm-hmm.
must do these things in your mind,
Mm-hmm.
then that's when my VA, God bless her, she saved me. I'll tell you that. But so it's a process. It really is a process.
Mm-hmm.
Outsourcing is kind of a mental thing too,
Mm-hmm.
because nobody can do it as well as we can do it, we think. But actually, Carol, my VA, she could do it better than me and faster than me, and I didn't have to do it. So I would encourage you to change your thinking around things. But I think your problem is what we talked about. One is your list. You need a different list. So,
Yeah.
and I have a solution for that.
Mm-hmm.
And the company is called, I'll just tell you this, but don't buy just off the website. It's called Real Supermarket. I'll give
Yeah, I've
you,
heard of them.
the guy's name is Jay Maj. Uh, everybody works remotely now, so but he'll get your list and on the list stacking list. When I got it last, I only had 15 names on it. It was back a few months of the multiple motivations. So you're looking that you asked specifically about the out-of-state PRs. They are some of the very most motivated sellers of all when it comes to
Well,
probate.
and this has been my experience. That's why I'm asking you when you have
Yeah.
when you have when you do what you do on the investment side, because when I worked with attorneys and then the
Hmm.
PR is out of state,
Hmm.
oh my gosh,
It's
they are
so
like I had one attorney years ago. I met the estate, the PR, they were from Illinois, and as I'm talking to them, they're handing me the keys. I'm like, it was the easiest listing. It
well,
was,
and
and they
see.
were just the most wonderful people to work with, but it was like Yay. I want more like this.
Yeah, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to hammer this home. You're going to go, man, I really don't like her anymore. Content. Imagine you're in Denver. Imagine the PR's in New York, and he's got all these marketing pieces, and he starts going online. And that is 100% what he's going to do. He's going to go online and he's going to say, well, I would need to see, are these real people? Can they really do what they say they're going to do?
Mhm,
And then they look at and they see that you've made some videos, you've got your profiles built out that say you're a probate expert.
mhm,
You know, there's no way they can't not call you in the mix. And
mhm.
that's why this is why you've got to do this. You cannot be the best kept secret in town and do well.
Okay.
And that is just a fact. And if you need me to say that again to you, send me an email and I'll go, okay, knock it off, Zena.
Now, what
Make the
about
darn
you
content.
were talking about, my letters and stuff like that, where you said they need to be reconfigured.
They're true.
I thought it was because my friend brought that to my attention in sales and marketing. She goes, "Okay, here's what I'm seeing." And I'm like, "Okay, let me change this." And you're like, "No, it's still, this is
Make no
what."
mistake, they're beautiful. But what I learned the hard way is beautiful doesn't always sell. It
Hmm.
doesn't always get you whatever you're wanting.
Hmm.
I'll send you a sample letter of
Hmm.
what a very simple letter that in fact I need to write all this down. Oh my
And
God,
real
I
quick,
already wrote it down.
can I take a quick pause real quick? There's someone at my door. Can
Yeah,
you
yeah, and I'm gonna put my
give me
dog back
three
out too.
minutes? I will
No,
be right back.
it's fine.
Okay.
Recording.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I'll send these to you, and if there's a resource that I've forgotten. So when you're ready for a website, and I have this problem, so I use Carrot websites, and the reason I use them is because they've spent millions of dollars figuring out where to put things on the website to get people to click. You do not have to use them, but don't build your own website. I always tell people I built a couple of websites, but they were really pretty. Did they get me leads? No,
And
because
that's yeah, yeah.
there's a formula for getting leads where the hero section is called at the top where people will put in their information, but all these things are by design. And I have another resource for you. I think Patrick, so I did a series, I've done two 3-day master classes on probate investing, which were free, by the way. So are you on my list? Have you gotten anything where you had to leave your email address? Or I'm assuming you probably
Yeah,
did.
I get things from you all the time, Sharon.
Okay, okay. So
Yeah.
next time I'll probably do that again after the first of the year sometime. But it's free, but it's 90 minutes a day over 3 days. And when you sign up, even if you can't come, you get the recording. So
Yeah.
be sure to sign up. But I've lost my train of thought. What were we talking
We're
about?
talking about websites, we're talking about
Websites.
care,
Okay,
and then this
so
guy named Patrick.
Patrick, yeah, so Patrick has a different service. They build out websites, and I believe there's no charge. He's hoping down the road you'll need some of his services, but I'll double check that with him. And you need a website though, because it's the same as not having a business card. You must have a digital business card. So that's what people are looking for. And if he can mock you out a website, you can change the colors or whatever you want. But you can put a page on, have him put a page on there that is strictly for probates, where you would say, okay, here's how I can help you if you have a probate. I do know that you mentioned this thing about cleaning out the house. So as an investor in my contract, it always says we will finish cleaning out the house for you. Am I going to do that? Never. Uh, but when I would do the list of repairs for this distressed property, it was usually about $1,500 by the time you got the dumpster and you got uh, I would look at a house and go, okay, this is 5 men one day, or this is 5 men, I don't know how many days, maybe 3 or 4, a hoarder
I've
house.
seen those. Hmm.
But if you can have someone get a company that will give you a bid on doing that. I don't know what your middle of the road house is there, your average home is. Get somebody to give you a price, or maybe you know the price off the top of your head.
Mhm.
If that gets to be a problem for them, make that something you put in your listing. Um, we will arrange to have someone, they'd have to pay for it because if you're an investor buying it, we don't pay for it until, whoever's going to rehab the house pays for it.
Mhm.
But make those resources available to them because that I have found is the biggest stumbling block to them moving forward.
Mhm.
They go to the house, they look for valuables, they look for photos, they look for money, jewelry, all the things they might want to keep. Then they look at all the stuff and they say, I'll come back tomorrow or Saturday. They
Mhm.
go over there. "Oh, I just can't deal with this today." That goes on and on and on. So they don't list the house and they don't sell the property because of all the stuff in the house. Because a lot of older people are what I call them, they may not be hoarders, but they're keepers. Do you see
Mhm.
those where they've kept every butter tub
Yeah.
for
Mhm.
scraps of Reynolds wrap?
Mhm.
I mean, the
Mhm.
darndest things because they came from an era where,
Yeah,
which is back to the
the
silver.
Depression era.
Yeah, so you've got all of that. And then too, I don't know if you've listened to the one I did on the silver tsunami.
Oh, and this is, oh no, I mean, the silver tsunami has been on my radar since 2019.
But it's here
And
now. It's here
oh,
now.
it totally is. And I don't think we've seen the wave cap over the I don't think we've seen the wave cap yet. I mean, that is another reason why I am looking at focusing on probate and I want that to be my niche. But not only that, I started going, okay, well, Sharon did talk about a year later, you should circle back to the widowed
Mhm.
and write a letter to them. And so that's where
Mhm.
I just started last month doing that
Well,
because these people, when I look at county records, own the house since 1980, 1990, maybe 2000. There's a lot of older people in this.
so the baby boomers, and I talk about that in most presentations I do today. They're people born between 1946 and 1964. And the oldest of them is, I think, 78 this year. I think that's right. But that's going to be the next 15 to 20 years,
Oh,
Zena.
yes. Well, here's the thing, Sharon. I was sitting in on a conference 2 years ago, Star Power Conference. One of the realtors, her and her daughter, they're in Topeka. They focus on the senior market listing, senior homes, and they do seminars every single month like clockwork, and that's their business. And she said, Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac had a report that in 2035, because right now we quote unquote have a housing shortage.
Right.
Um, we're around like 4.5 to 5 million units that were for sale this last year, I believe. I have to go look at NAR, but they're expecting that number in 2035, Sharon, to go to 9 million.
Let me tell you, there are 76 million baby boomers in this country currently.
Uh-huh.
76 million
Yeah.
opportunities.
Yeah.
It's unprecedented. And this is the largest demographic of people. There's never been one that's this big before.
It's our
So,
largest population segment in
yeah,
Colorado,
under,
fastest growing.
understanding that demographic is huge. It's one of the things I teach because it's not, probates are evergreen. And I tell people, I don't say that in a bad way. It's not that, yay, people are passing away, but we get the privilege of helping these people through what is one of the worst times in their life. And
Mhm.
they are so grateful.
Yes.
I talk about that. I've had never gotten as many hugs at any type of closing as probates.
That's another reason why I want to be working with them
Mhm.
because I know how grateful these people were where they're like looking at a house full of shit
Yeah, yeah,
and we go
everywhere.
over their options and they're
Yeah.
like, let's go this way.
Hmm.
And we get to the closing table. I mean, granted, I have one or a couple that were just kind of like, you know, they were not, I had one that they weren't motivated to sell. They were too emotionally attached to the property. They didn't have to sell. It was owned
Yeah.
free and clear, and they didn't want to sell it. But for the most part, these people are super grateful. And as a realtor, I've even gotten business beyond that sale. Like, they were moving to Denver and they wanted to work with me because they
Mhm.
liked how I handled the situation.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I like those people. They're not entitled. There are really great people to work with.
They're great, easy, and people always say, "Well, I'm scared," and this is why it's great for us. A lot of people think they're going to say, "Oh, let me tell you about my mom's cancer journey." Then I never has anyone said anything to me
Mhm.
like that. So I tell people when they go into property, if you feel awkward, look for visual clues.
Mhm.
If you walk in the front door, you already know maybe it's dad who passed away, and you see golf clubs in the corner. Just say, "Oh, was your dad the golfer?" Doesn't matter if it's yes or no. If it's yes, oh, a lot of people in my family are golfers, not me. I don't have the confidence to even tee off. But we would start a conversation, or maybe it's their mom, and you look around in the kitchen, she's got a million cookbooks. Oh, was
Mhm.
your mom a cook? And then they'll say, "We had every holiday here." And then you get to hear a little bit of their story. And this is something that most men don't have a lot of patience with. You have to have patience to work with these people. But
Mhm.
then you'll know when the time is right. We'll say, "Hey, let's show me around the property." But see how easy the whole thing is just easy. Once you once you can you've gotten it, I've gotten it. We're just getting to help people. We're not in any kind of a situation where we're taking advantage of anybody or quite the opposite. They are so darn grateful because they've got a life. A lot of times they've got kids, they've got sports, but two people working in a family, and on top of that, they've got this estate to settle. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
hang on. I'm sorry, my phone just keeps ringing. It's the weirdest thing. I keep trying to turn it off on my watch.
Mhm.
It's my granddaughter. She's probably gonna call back. Let me just tell her I'm on a call. Well, she'll get the idea if I don't pick up. Um, anyway, but I think you have a good grasp on people. You have a good grasp on the situation. I think some of the things you didn't know about the marketing, they're mistakes everybody makes, and I had to have some of them pointed out to me. But no doubt your marketing is beautiful, but it's probably not going to convert because it's too focused on you and your achievements.
Mhm.
But all those testimonials and things, they belong on your website.
Okay. Okay.
And so that though all those people and continue getting those, by the way, and if you get lucky enough to get a video testimonial, put that on there.
Mhm. Mhm.
So years ago we didn't do video testimonials, but today people are pretty okay with just you pulling out your phone and saying, "Hey, would you just the closing person, would you just let us film this while we talk about it?" And they just talk about saying that she was great to work with. Now, imagine you put that video online and on your website, and people start to view you as the expert out of your little niche market.
Mhm.
And to take that thought a little bit bigger, to date, and I wasn't doing anything special, but just putting out content. But I have worked with people in 9 countries on 4 continents, and they all called me. And usually it was to be on a podcast, which got me in front of people, maybe be on a summit or something. But I post all those online, and my stuff is everywhere. So when we did this master class, Patrick, he's lived in the U.S. He's got a real estate business in Miami, but he's got somebody running that for him. He just makes money off of it. He lives in Ecuador, and he spends a week or two every year in Europe with his daughter. So I mean, every time I think about this, it's amazing. Patrick is in Ecuador, and he's helping me to set up these master classes. His company does that. I'm in the US. His people are in India and other countries.
Mhm.
My VA's in the Philippines, and the guy that owns the marketing company, he's based in the UK. All those people from all those different companies, and we are able to get on Zoom and do this meeting. It's so when someone that's across the country is thinking of who they're going to help to list, with the sale of the property, that they can't come. Maybe they've got a big job. Maybe they have a smaller job, but they can't miss a paycheck. It's
Mhm.
important to them to find somebody that they have confidence in. And this is one of the main pillars of branding that you need to do.
Mhm. Mhm.
But
Okay.
I can promise you, right now, you're the best kept secret in town, probably. And you can change that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if I had 2 to 3 listings a month, I would be happy.
Right.
Happy. Happy
Right.
little camper.
Hmm. Well, and putting outside these little videos and putting them on YouTube and then just share the darn video on social media. Just,
Hmm.
you can just upload it and share it.
Hmm.
Uh, People will start to see you. People are on these social media platforms, but video is king right now. Video outperforms everything of anything. Now, are you on Instagram at all?
I am.
Okay.
Hmm.
So make these and turn them into reels. And the easiest way to do that is get something to hold your phone. You may already have that and just
Hmm.
speak into your phone because they're vertical videos. These are wide
Yeah.
horizontal videos.
Mhm.
But just get a thing to hold your phone in. And I've even got something that's like you plug into your phone and it's a stop and start button so that you don't
Yeah.
even have to edit them. I
Hmm.
think that was like maybe $10 or something.
Okay. Okay.
So you look perplexed over this content.
There's a lot of information. It's just
Mhm.
like breaking them down into little pieces.
Is into little pieces. Yeah. Well, if you're interested when I get this, I have options. I'm always available to work with people and talk to them. So that's always a way to go. But I do have, the probate course, but I tell you, I think you would probably really benefit from this scaling course. If we've kind of covered all of the things. I did this as a beta program, and I'll let you know when it's ready. But we had people on Zoom that took
Mhm.
it, and I don't want them to be. I want this just to be a clean cut thing. But we work on the pillars:
Yeah.
marketing, branding, intensive follow up, outsourcing, and scaling, and automation, and all of
Hmm.
that stuff.
Hmm.
Together, when you get those six pieces right, you've really hit gold as far as things getting easier.
Well, and I know it's like right now, it's like, okay, getting the right list, having that contact,
Mhm,
knowing where to go, knowing who to contact,
mhm,
and then restructuring my message
mhm,
where it's about them.
mhm.
And I can get that taken care of
You
and
can
then
do that.
getting that out. And then definitely want to learn more about Carrot and what they do. And you said there was like another website you talked about, another
I'm
platform.
Patrick, and let me check into that because
Yeah. Because
on
I
the
mean, I
ma-
will say this.
on
I
the
mean, oh, I'm so sorry. Um, I will say this. Like, I mean, I've seen a lot of amazing, beautiful real estate websites. They look gorgeous. And I will say this. I mean, I talk to people and like, how often do you get business? It looks gorgeous. It's got video. They don't get
they
shit.
don't get any leads, and that's why you get the companies. I mean, I don't know. Right now, I think Patrick will build you out a website for no charge. I
Hmm.
think. Let me find out about that. That was an offer he made on the master class. So
Hmm.
let me check into that. Carrot is now about, I think see, I've been with them so long, I don't even know anymore, but $59 a month or something like that.
That's nothing compared
Yeah.
with some
So,
realtors,
but
compared with
I
somebody's
had a
realtors
hard time.
agreement.
I had a hard time getting over it. I'm just going to tell you because it wasn't my version of pretty. But I built and had built a couple of websites and they were gorgeous. Did I get leads? Heck no. I just didn't. But right now, you're competing with people that are spending a boatload of money on SEO, and that's just the truth of it. I would rather see you get up a website for credibility and then start to funnel get business through what else you're doing. The
Hmm.
other thing I always tell people is, do you go to your realtor meetings and network with uh, those people, or you kind of don't do that?
I mean, as in realtor to realtor networking.
Yeah,
In Colorado, because we're such a large market, um, I'm part of like a network where we can basically talk about new properties that are coming on the market before they
okay.
even come onto the market. I
Yeah.
mean, I definitely have those resources. And then the online marketing resources that we can push these properties out before they become available to the MLS. So we definitely have that where we can pre-market these properties before
Mhm.
showings begin.
Yeah. See, another list I think you should go off of is for me, you've got them on market covered. I think you need to look at off market deals. I have my entire career worked off market deals.
Mhm.
And that was because even in my area, we had 5,500 realtors at the time. There's probably more than that now. And then we had a bunch of investors on the MLS. And I was not to go in there and fight for the property kind of person.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I purposely worked off market deals. Now
Mhm.
you can get one that I liked, and I tell people knew I was never going to get rich on this one, but if I got a deal or two a year, it paid for all my marketing, and that was out of state owners, absentee
Mhm.
owners.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's another thing. I mean, do you know demographically, do a lot of people go to Florida for the year, like these older people we're talking about, or for the winter?
They go to Arizona and Colorado.
Okay, okay. So absentee owners, out of state absentee owners,
Mhm.
that's another big thing that you can work
Mhm.
to think about. But go where you know there's a need, but not so many people are looking at. I know probably. See, for every property that's out there, an off-market property, and that is not something that's a property that was never on the market. So it's not
Mhm.
expired listings,
Mhm.
it's not that. When you can get to those people, they have made the decision that they do not want to list their property through the traditional means, like interviewing realtors and all of that. So if you can get to them first before the other realtors, before they've chosen an agent,
Mhm.
a realtor. That's another avenue for you. So I'm going to encourage you to think outside the box.
Now,
Um,
here's a question. When you send a letter to or a postcard to the widowed person, is it a one-time shot or how often?
no, I do it for about a year, and
Uh-huh.
then I'll do it periodically. That's when they go into CRM, and I'll
Uh-huh.
put a trigger thing in there to notify, like every 3 months or every 6 months. And I kind of gauge. They'll often call you and say, "I'm not ready to sell."
Mm-hmm.
And what I say to them is, great, I'm glad you're still happy in your property. Would it be okay if I reached out to you 2 or 3 times a year
Mm-hmm.
and just see if anything has changed with you? And they'll always say, yes, that's fine. At that point, you would dial back your marketing and maybe quarterly you would send them something, or you can call them in this case because they called you first,
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
you can text them. See, they respond even better to text. Statistically, they respond better to that than they do, a cold call. Cold call
Okay.
feels very invasive to people,
Mm-hmm.
but texting, everybody texts.
Okay. Okay.
So that's another. So you can set up a plan for marketing to those people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
But yeah, you're right to look at every little piece of this probate scenario,
Yeah.
because there are a lot of different things you can do that are not really mainstream, like
Well, sorry, go on.
following up with the widows and widowers. You can send
Well,
a letter. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Moved over to postcards simply because they're half the cost.
yeah.
Something like that. And they got oversized postcards, not the tiniest, but the next size up. And I haven't gotten any in a while, but they're 45, 50 cents as opposed to $1 or something.
Well, and the thing is, Sharon, when I look at the widowed person, it's like if there's anybody who kind of knows what their situation could be like. You said I find that women that have lost a spouse within a year, they start thinking about it. Like I'm kind of more I'm more aware of their situation
Mhm.
than probably any other realtor unless it's a close friend of theirs.
Mhm.
Because I know what happened to them a year ago. I've got
Right.
the list. So
And
I've got the intel.
that is so smart. And when you get your list, those are people that you're going to mail to in the future.
Hmm.
See, we look them up, every single person on here it's called the property valuation,
Hmm.
the PVA. We look them up And if we see that, we'll get the list and then we'll look them up and say, oh, their spouse passed away, then they get funneled over to a different spreadsheet with a
Yeah.
different follow-up because there's still opportunity there, but it's not going to be today opportunity.
Okay. Yeah. 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 I mean, I know you said this is a long like she goes, you said with probate, you said, I get majority of my deals came to fruition after the fifth
Fifth
to sixth.
mailing, so which is 4 months from the day you start mailing.
I know. And that's what I was going. I've been doing this since September of last year, and I've got a little bit of things. I've had people call me,
Uh-huh.
but not the momentum that you've had. And I'm like, okay, what is going on here?
But when they called you, what did they say to you? I'm not ready
Well,
to
I mean, I've
sell.
had people say, please take me off the list, in which they did. And I'm like, okay, they're obviously getting my message. I've gone on some listing appointments where, well, there was one particular, I went on a listing appointment and everything went really good. And then I sent her the listing paperwork and she went radio silent and listed with someone else.
Yeah, it's been
And so
my
it was like, at least I got in front of them, but
yeah.
it wasn't me. And then I've got a couple listings right now where I got one right now, we're under contract, and then one we're getting the property ready for the market after the new year.
Uh-huh.
But like the consistency of the reach out to, hey, please, I want to talk to you about, working with you. I have not gotten that.
Hmm. So yeah, so
Phone
that's
ringing.
yeah, you've got to create more visibility. You've got to create more like I said, they're probably looking you up going, where the heck's our website? But when somebody tells me, I used to take the no as a no, and I've learned that no means not now. So
Hmm.
when they say take me off your list, I would say, look, the last thing uh, that I wanted to do is have you be upset with the marketing. But we are with the mail piece, so we are able to help so many people that's why we reach out to them. And I've had people say, "How'd you get my information?" Well, it's a
Hmm.
matter of public record. Well, take me off your list. I say, "Oh, I'll do that if that's what you want, but let me." Just say that my intention was never to upset you, but rather to become a resource for you down the road when you're ready to sell. And I say a few sentences in there, and they would say, "Oh, okay." I said, and then I would say something like, "Look, I know this is a really tough time for you, but would it be okay if I reached out to you and just kept my name, in the forefront?
Hmm.
So when you're ready to sell or ready to list your property, um, I'd like to be your plan B. Maybe in my case, maybe they say, I'm thinking back to 2008 when, as investors, nobody could get a darn mortgage because unless they had a real job, like at GE, I had
Hmm.
some GE engineers that were also investors. So everybody was going to put their house on, they were going to list the property. And I would always say to them, great. I hope you have great luck because over my real estate career, I've worked with a lot of realtors and I have great respect for them. But I said, sometimes circumstances change. And could I be your plan B if something changes? And they just kind of laugh and say, yeah, you can be my plan B. I said, I'm okay coming in second.
Okay.
But then I turned that whole conversation around and almost in every case, I get them to allow me to continue to mail them.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay.
So, but I think you're doing a lot of things right, a lot of things right. And sometimes you just need, and I have the same problem. I need another set of eyes on my something. If I'll create something and it's not quite working, and I have a friend who I met through an event here in the U.S. that lives in Brisbane, Australia, and I'll just reach out to her and say, "Hey, do you have time for a call?" Which is always my afternoon, and she calls it getting up at stupid o'clock because all of a lot of her clients are in the US. But I'll say, look at this with me because we work a lot on copy and stuff like that. What is wrong with this mail piece or what is wrong with this? And she'll just say, well, I think if you change these two or three things, she said, I used to do that and then I did this. And I go, okay, you just saved me like $1 million because I'm not going to keep doing what's not working.
Hmm.
But I think it's helpful to have another set of eyes on your stuff from time to time. And I always ask, like my students, what would have made this? easier for you? What, and that again, that's the number one complaint I got, not a complaint, but comment was I've learned everything I need to know to work in the niche of probates, but now I'm in overwhelmed. I don't know where to start. Even though they had a roadmap in there of where to start. It's just like you said, it's a lot of information. And
Mhm.
I'm a note taker. I'm a notebook girl. And I vowed to get all my stuff digital, but I like the process of writing it down and clearing my thoughts. And so I haven't cured myself of that one, Zane. I would like to say I have, but I
Yeah.
haven't.
Mhm. No, I mean, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me because, like I said, I was doing this for a while and I'm like, I need to find out what's going on because I know I can be getting better results and I want to reach out to you and really kind of troubleshoot this so I can tweak it um, and see a better return on my investment
Mhm.
and my
Yeah.
time.
Well, and it may take some tweaking for a while. I
Hmm.
mean, nothing seems to happen overnight, but a big piece of this is this darn market this past year.
Hmm.
But if you can get set up to hit the ground running by January, and I always tell my people, don't mail anybody past like the first week in December because
You
the
know, I was
first,
just going to ask you that
yeah.
question.
And ideally you would have your shit together and you would have mailed, like around the middle of Thanksgiving or middle of November. So you want to avoid the holidays
Yeah.
because I know when my mom passed away, that first year, the Christmas, the Thanksgiving, it's all brutal. It is just brutal for these people. Some of them, it's been a child they've lost, that'll end up in probate, and they had a property, and they're doing it because I had one. Their son was killed in an automobile accident, and that was a tough one because he didn't have a spouse, but he had a home, and they had to dispose of all that. They had to be the executors for their son, and that was a tough one, I'll tell you.
I dealt with parents of kids. Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
But the things that will make you stand out, of course, you need to be an expert in what you're doing. That's a given. But having content, being able to really sit down and look at your process. You talk about you didn't get that listing, you sent the paperwork. Look at every step in the process. Maybe since things are so hard to come by these days, maybe you would have gotten it if you showed up and uh, a couple of days later in person.
Hmm.
That might be a point for you. And then look at your follow-up with these people. What does that look like? Because with a listing, like you said, they can see somebody tomorrow or next week and just list with somebody else because that is the most recent person in their world and they are now ready to sell. Maybe
Hmm.
they just weren't quite ready mentally before.
Yeah.
So look at your follow-up system and something you might try is like if you've talked to them and they didn't want to list it today, say, okay, I know this is a big decision. I'm going to check back with you in a day or two. I'll text you or give you a call. Would that be
Hmm.
okay?
Hmm.
But I have found even whether it's investing or even talking to agents, the more time that passes, the more likely they are to go with someone else because their mindset just got back in that right spot and
Hmm.
somebody else showed up. It wasn't necessarily that they were better than you or they liked them or whatever.
Yeah.
But I do tell people, don't be worried about your competition. I would say this about your Denver area. Um, if we were to go out and go after the same property, I won't be everybody's cup of tea. You won't be everybody's cup of tea. But if you don't go out and show up, you're not ever going to be anybody's cup of tea. So
Hmm.
just be the best you that you can be and kind of be aware of your competition. Watch what they're doing, certainly. But I faced this in my real estate investing group. So I joined that group in 1998, and that was the first I bought my first property that year. And when you looked around that room of 500, maybe even more people of investors, and by the way, there were a lot of investors in there, and there are also agents in there because these people list for properties with agents. So but I could count on one hand the number of women actually doing deals. It was a man's world. It was all, and it was they would teach. I compare always compare this to doctors and say, well, these investors, the ones that the old guys that had been around forever, they would teach you 90% of what you needed to know to be successful at something. In that last 10%, they would go out and have a beer after the meeting. They would talk about that.
Hmm.
So it was there was oh, they never treated us badly. So, and one investor said to me one time, well, Sharon, we never treated you any differently. We were talking about this, just having a friendly conversation of people that had known each other for 20 years. I said, no, you never excluded me or any of the other women, but the door to the good old boys club was only partially open and it was not open for us. And he just kind
Hmm.
of looked at me and I just gave him some examples and he said, wow, we did do that. So I learned early on to that there were a lot of investors out there creating their doing what their thing was. And for them, most of them, it was not marketing. That's the thing you got to get really good at, is marketing. But I was aware of them, but I just ignored them. I didn't go and fight with them on the properties on the MLS. I just went over here. I worked off-market deals. When I've discovered probates, which was 10 years later, I went all in on probates because I really love it. But
Hmm.
I went and they would always say, well, how are you getting these deals like in 2008? And I'd say direct mail marketing, 100%.
Hmm.
And I heard some of these young investors saying, I guess we're going to have to start doing that old stuff, that sending out that mail stuff. And we're all just, a couple of us are over here just laughing because we never stopped. Yes, we use the internet and we network and we do all the things, but that's still our mainstay and it works today as well as it ever did for off-market deals, and probates are off-market deals.
Okay.
So don't be too worried about those people. Just
Mhm.
work on creating a memorable customer experience. And I mean, I can gauge people from the get-go. You're good at that. I know you are. But maybe look at your process. Where could you show up a little bit differently?
Mhm.
How could you not lose a listing? Done that on with investor distressed properties. It's like, man, I don't know what even happened. I thought I had that deal. But that person, probably the person who was a more aggressive man, came in behind me and they just kept, you know, kept on them. I'm always very mindful about their feelings and
Mhm.
their situation and all of that. So that was something I had to work on, which was, okay, this is a business. How can I do the best job I can for them? And maybe be a little bit more, I won't want to use the word aggressive, but go after it a little
Yeah.
bit harder without uh, letting them slide away. Because
Yeah.
we've all had that experience and it sucks.
No, I mean, this is thing I really appreciate you being able to fit me into your calendar, especially in the morning, so I can
Well,
get this taken care of before the day gets away from me.
and that's what I have a kind of a meeting I do, pretty much a quickie meeting. I check in with an investor friend of mine. It's like a quick check-in. We do what's going on, what sucks. And he said, I totally didn't do anything last week. I said, okay, this is going to be a short call. But
Mhm.
no, I was glad thank you for giving me a little bit of time to get back to you because I had my second shoulder replacement 5 weeks ago, and I've had some complications with this one. So anyway, I'm just it's kind of like the whole using my arm thing and all of that. It's been different.
Well, and and the thing is, so I guess I'm gonna get an email from you and you're gonna kind of have like some things to provide.
Mhm.
Thank you for telling me. Don't do anything in December. Don't send any letter. Don't,
No,
which is great because that gives me
gives you
next
time.
month to really get everything ready for 2026.
Yes, and in fact,
That's like
I would
refreshing to
get
hear.
past the new year, and I always tell people mail around, and break my rule of getting your list and get your list and everything. But I live and die by a big wall calendar. I've got my agenda back here. I've got a Google Calendar, but when it comes to marketing, I went to one of the places, Staples or
Hmm.
Office Depot, and it's the kind you hang on your wall. It's like 3 feet wide. I had
Hmm.
it in a place in my office, and you need the kind that you flip it over. So you put everything on there. This is when I'm going to order my list. About a week later, your mailing will go out. What networking opportunities do I have? And you might want to check out some of your local investor groups. Hey, there's a ton of realtors in those groups,
Mhm.
because they get listing opportunities, they meet people. Sometimes they're just there building their awareness for a while. Sometimes they get asked to be speakers,
Mhm.
all kinds of things. But and then I always tell people, well, join one non-real estate networking event and do that. Some people join the Chamber of Commerce, NAWBO, the National Association of Women's Business Owners. That's a great one because it gets you in front of smart women who are not necessarily, there might be somebody in real estate in there, but they're not there for that. So you get to meet all of these people in your area, go to the local meetings, then think of you when they need to list their property. So
Mhm.
that's a part of building out your brand. But
Mhm.
think about that one and just choose one and commit to doing that, whatever that is. And then I know somebody that kayaks, and he goes to his kayaking thing every month. Guess what? There are no more real estate investors or realtors in that group.
Yep.
He's that. So think of ways that you can be that person and still. I'm not one on going out every night of the week to network, but I
That's not
do
me.
network.
Mhm.
I pick a couple of things and I show up and I become known at whatever that is.
Yeah.
So pick something for you. And we're coming into winter and I'm always going, darn, I gotta put a coat on and go out in this cold to do this. But I don't know. But I think yeah, we need to reconvene every so often and just see how things are coming along.
Well, I really hope that the next time I connect with you, Sharon, I have like some really amazing wins. So,
I'm gonna put that out there for you, and you put that out there that
mhm.
this we're not gonna have another year of like sucky 2025. But a lot of people have called me and said, "Look, I don't know what's going on." And I said, "Welcome to the whole world. None of us knows what's going on."
Mhm.
Real estate's been very different for the last couple
It's
of
a
years.
very, I mean, one of my lenders, she's been in the business for over 40 years and she is a heavy hitter,
Hmm.
very successful. And she's just like, I mean, for her to say how it is
Yeah,
just,
it's
whoa.
terrible. And I have a friend in Chicago who has well over 100 rental houses. He's very successful. He has an education business, and that's where I'm supposed to be going up there to speak at his event in a couple of weeks. But I have a 2 pound weight limit, so there's nothing, no way I can go to Chicago with 2 pounds.
Yeah.
So, but he is. We've always talked about branding, and he has built this huge brand for himself over the past couple of years, and he's done it all through video and through educational things. 100%. But he was a hard sell. I use always he calls me Miss Sharon because he's that's his culture. Miss Sharon, I need to talk to you. But we would talk about this and he finally just it clicked for him. But even in Chicago, where they have, if you're in Chicago, they have tens of thousands of foreclosures. So that's a big city for that. You could become a pre-foreclosure expert up there.
Mhm.
When he told me how many they had, I Googled how many were there in Kentucky last year, and I think it was 275. So it's not a thing here. I don't know what your
Well,
area is for
well,
Denver.
and you know, it's like I said, you know, my thing is I want my lane is, of course, my past clients, probate, and looking at that older segment, so like the widowed people, because you know, it's like I don't want to spread myself in so many different directions because then
Mhm.
it's like scatterbrain. I want to be like, okay, here's your lane, here's the niches. But when I look at like the market appreciation, actually Kentucky is doing phenomenal.
Kentucky's doing
Colorado,
good.
we're flat. I mean, but we're one of the more expensive non-coastal markets. But Kentucky, when I look at the FHFA appreciation graphs, Kentucky is doing phenomenal. The mid,
We didn't have these huge price spikes.
nope.
We never had that. So although I have looked for when investors are looking at property, you always want to be thinking bread and butter properties like first time home buyers or one step up. That's the niche. We leave all the expensive properties to agents because it's really hard to rehab or hold a big expensive property and then
Mhm.
get it sold. That the money doesn't work out for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I've watched our median price and our average home sale price go up a lot in the past couple of years.
And I
But
think
it's,
what also for you with Kentucky is you're right next door to Tennessee, and
mhm,
Tennessee has definitely gotten high on the price side of things.
they have,
So
mhm.
you just go north to where Kentucky is.
Yeah.
And I remember saying this to myself in 2020 when I was getting a car on the East Coast because my car died during COVID, and I went and bought a car in Jersey and drove cross country. And I remember this feeling I had when I left Chicago and I was in Iowa. I said, you know what? I have a feeling. Okay, I'm not taking Chicago, but like looking at the Midwest, and maybe Kentucky's part of that. I said, I see the Midwest as actually being the area that is the surprise market that when everything shakes out is going to be doing very well investment wise
Mhm.
because people are going to want something that feels safe. Um, they what they want, they're not going to be able to get in markets like Chicago, New York,
Mhm.
um, you know, California.
Mhm.
And there's so much more you can get there. And I said,
Yeah.
I think that this is going to be an area that's going to really, in the long term, it's going to be like a renaissance.
Hmm.
And I'm
Yeah,
seeing
that's
that.
true. So, but I mean, there's just so many things. One final comment, and I've got another call.
I know me too.
The um, I never had any luck working the list of what they call the older generation, and here's why. They don't. What's their motivation to sell?
Hmm.
Unless they want to downsize, they've spent their entire life paying for this house, so they have a
Hmm.
place to live.
Hmm.
So they're not always motivated to sell. So I hope you have good luck with that list. I did not
Hmm. Hmm.
because you need some they need some sort of motivation to sell.
Well, and it's very interesting because right now, what has surpassed first-time home buyers is actually downsizers right now.
Hmm. Yeah.
And what we're seeing right now in Colorado is because insurance has become a big issue.
Hmm.
Yeah, a lot of these people own their homes outright, is they are our net migration is kind of flat right now.
Hmm. Well, then, maybe that market, if you tailor your piece strictly to thinking of downsizing,
Hmm.
I can help.
Hmm.
And if you can get and maybe mix up your marketing pieces, do some test pieces, do some postcards, but you get a postcard that really says,
Hmm.
that's a perfect headline, thinking of downsizing,
Yeah.
question mark. And then maybe mix in a letter or so in there, but then I would go at it from that angle.
Okay. All right.
Well, it's been lovely talking with you. I
Thank you,
really
Sharon.
enjoy that.
And real quick, when should I expect to get that email follow up with you? Because I know I've got to thank God December's around the corner, but I've got
Yeah.
to work on my little steps here,
Yeah.
tweaking things.
Well, I'll send this recording so that that's why I wanted to record it so you have it.
Yay.
So I'll send the recording so that you can go back through it. And there's another tool that you might, I think, are you familiar with the script, that tool, Descript?
No.
Okay. S-C.
And then I know you said you're going to provide the list, I mean, the
Uh,
company that you work with
yeah, I'm going to
to
give you the name of the person. I'm going to give you the name of the
Jefferson
person
County is
in
right
that
next to us.
company because if they're getting backed up, you don't want to send an email to the company. You want to go, Jay, where's my list? Jay, I'm waiting on my list. But when they do the list stocking list, it will take them a little bit longer because they manually build that. That may
Hmm.
take a week.
Hmm.
Uh, but they'll get that to you and it'll be 30 cents a lead compared to another company that unless you're doing 5 or 10,000 mailers a month, they're still
I'm not.
almost $5 a mail piece. It's insane.
Hmm.
But a Descript is a tool where you can, I think you can get there's a free plan. If not, and you want to transcribe this call, buy it for a month. It's $25
Okay.
or something. You just put your video in there and it will spit out a transcription of this for you.
Hmm.
Now, it will have some words that'll be like in probate, it always wants to make it probation. So I have to go through and clean it up a little bit.
Hmm.
But it's a great tool. And if you're creating content, what I love about Descript is we all have something that we say. So my friend Allison in Australia, she says, and I'm bad about saying so. And I kind of broke myself when I was doing the podcast of ums and ahs. But
Hmm.
it'll ask you, do you want to take out all these filler words? Heck yes, take them all out. Take out every time I said so. But it's
Hmm.
that we have that inability to just to take a pause,
Hmm.
take a pause and don't fill it up with a filler word. But
Hmm.
I love that about them. And if you were doing a video and you needed to edit it, you can look at the words on the page instead of rewinding the video a million times. You can look at the words on the page and just take the words out and it fixes your video for you.
Hmm. Okay.
It's amazing. But I'm sure your brain is about ready to explode now. But these are all tools I've found over time. But you can
Yeah.
always email me if you have a question
Okay.
too. But yeah, give me today. I'm pretty booked out today, but I'll get them to you by tomorrow.
Fantastic. I know I gotta get started with my day, emails and all that good stuff.
And
So,
I apologize for the late Zoom notice.
oh
I'm
no, no,
just
no.
really off my game here with this medical problem.
No worries. Sharon, thank you so much. I look forward to getting the email and also happy Thanksgiving to you and your
Yeah.
family later this month.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, and we'll talk again.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye.
Bye.